Welcome to Electric Lawn Talk. Each week, the electric lawn care professionals get together to talk about the electric lawn and landscape business and have some fun along the way. Whether you are in the business, thinking of getting started, or just want to hear the tips, tricks, struggles, and victories of the move to electric, you are in the right place. Let's get started.
Welcome back to Electric Lawn Talk, episode 4. We have a little bit of a treat today. Today's episode will be dedicated to giving you the top 10 tips from electric lawn care pros, which is the group of us we have today. I'm with Daniel here in Lakeland, Florida, and we have Jarmar, Sean, William, Steven, Sandy, and Jake as well. If you guys have been listening for a while, you know where we're from. I'm just doing another episode for you guys, bringing some more golden nuggets and some information for you guys. And tip number 1 from me, personally, from Electrawn, is just get started. Sometimes we get lost in the sauce and we go, overthinking everything, too analytical, and we never actually get started with what we were wanting to do. It could be a new business, a new relationship, a new idea you have, and you just get so confused or so stuck in what you want to do. And what if it doesn't work? What if it does work? If you don't ever start today, you're never going to know. Just like this podcast, we kind of just made our minds one day, say, hey, we should do a podcast for you guys listening and try to bring this information. We understand the struggle of trying to go electric and our transitions, either starting from electric or becoming electric companies. And we want to help you guys that are listening and not let you have the same struggles that we had. So that's where I would start off with tip number 1, just getting started. You could use that with anything in your life. Don't get lost in the sauce. And I'm just going to pass it on to the next person so they can get stuff rolling. And we're going to go with Jarmar. Jarmar for tip number 2.
All right, tip number 2. Let me see if I can get on here and get y'all a good one. So my tip is if you think about what Ronnie just said, getting started, my tip around that is don't think you got to buy everything out of the box, right? If you're currently running gas, right, and you're used to all those things that works for you, right? You used to the gas and the 2-cycle oil and all of the stuff. You got all the things, the glue stick that makes everything works for you. You got all that stuff in your bandwagon. Maybe just start small. Start with handheld equipment. Find those things that are well balanced for you. Don't think you got to go out and buy 200 batteries. Don't think you got to go out and buy solar panels right away. Just start with something small and introduce yourself. Get yourself into the game. That way you can figure out what you like and what you don't like. And you don't have to feel like you got to make this big commitment, because a lot of times we slow ourselves down because we got that analysis by paralysis, right? Trying to figure out what it is that I need to get or what system I need to go with. Look, this industry is changing so fast right now. Battery technology is changing left and right. We all just came from the Equip Expo. We saw all kinds of stuff. There's more stuff that's going to be coming out next year, right? There's always new things coming out. So don't feel like whatever decision you make today is the final decision. Just start small. Start with your handhelds. Find one that works for you, the ones that you can get your hands on, and just get going. Piggyback on Ronnie.
I'm on certain Facebook groups online, and I see a lot of questions from the guys there that are getting overwhelmed. They're asking questions, they don't even have more than 5 customers, and they're asking, hey, Daniel, how can I build a solar grid system to charge on the go? You technically can still plug and play. You can get those yards done with the inverter on your truck. I know me and Daniel had that problem as well. We got a 300 amp hour battery that we had way too much juice over. Even with our mean green, we got overwhelmed with that purchase price when we're having 60% inefficiency. That we overthought it. We thought we're going to have 100 customers on day 1, but in reality, you got to build that reputation within your city, within your town you're in, dense out these routes. And a lot of people, they get overwhelmed online. They're over there asking questions that they're way too far ahead. Sometimes I even do this whenever I'm trying to, perfect what I'm doing. And it goes back to, honestly, tip number 1, they get stuck with just, lost in the sauce, what I like to say in simple terms.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I'm going to go ahead and pass the mic. Let's see, William, hit us up with tip number 3.
Hey, all right. Tip number 3. I think these are starting to definitely build off of each other as well. One that we preach a lot, and I definitely agree with, is focus on your key metric. In our case, it's revenue, right? Or users or customers to be able to drive that revenue. A lot of time spent in the startup world, and I really believe that if you start to get stuck in a P&L and cap table and balance sheet and all these pieces, we want to run profitable businesses, but you don't want to be stuck playing startup. It might be a little messier to clean up later, but if you don't focus on that key metric to start, I think there might not be a later. So from my perspective, get started. Totally agree. The other pieces you're saying, and the next piece I'd add to that is, and especially for us, that key metric, customers or revenue or profitability targets, focus on that. So that way you're able to continue to be successful long term.
For that tip, William, did you go through an experience that kind of, made you realize, I mean, I'm assuming, all these tips we're going to give out, we've gone through something that had this on our top 10 list that we want to avoid for someone else to do?
Yeah, for sure. So I think we sort of fell into that trap at the start of even kickstarting our business, right? Back when I had my gas lawn mowing business as a kid, it was just getting started cutting the neighbor's grass, right? You didn't really think about any of those things. It was, hey, can I do this lawn, do that lawn? And there wasn't other responsibilities and other things you were focused on. Coming back and building the proper business that we're building, getting back into this, there's a temptation to play startup. There's a temptation to worry about the logo and the cards and the business cards and the website design and all these other pieces that look like you're making progress. And none of those things got you a single customer, right? You guys down there in Florida, right, living the salt life, trying to figure out whatever you're doing for year-round business, us figuring out our 7-month business, which is not really sure what exactly we're going to do to just look like we're making progress. Again, the website looks cool, but you got to drive customers to it and you have to have a service. All the gear is awesome to look at the Equip Expo, but if you don't have customers, it doesn't matter and it's just going to sit in your garage and need a charge, right? Trucks and vans are cool to look at, and we talked about our setup. But for me, I felt myself kind of getting a little stuck into that because it's fun and it shows quick progress. I think to a point, though, it a little bit shows fake progress of you can convince yourself you're putting good systems in place. And that's probably true as the business continues to grow. But in the infancy of getting these started, or in the infancy of switching from gas to electric and doing some of these pieces, you have to get started. You have to have that key metric that has to be the maniacal focus, and then clean up those other pieces along the way.
Yeah, if you switching from gas to electric, you should have some customers already.
For sure.
Right?
Agreed.
Don't think that going electric going to get you some customers automatically, because I think everybody here will tell you a lot of these folks don't even care that you're electric right off the bat. They don't even know it's a thing yet. It's still one of those new things. So, yeah.
Jarmar, are you saying that $20,000 mower I can go buy won't come with 10 customers?
Yeah, it will. They'll come with you.
It's extra.
Yeah, to watch you if you pull over the side of the road, but they're not going to pay you to go cut their grass just because you got a $20,000 mower.
Those 10 customers definitely aren't going to pay for that.
Right.
Just the 10?
Yeah.
Still be losing money. Well, that was point number 3 from me. So let's go to Jake for point number 4.
Nice. Thanks, William. My next tip is know your why. This is kind of important for almost any business that you start, or anything that you kind of do in life that's kind of going to take up a lot of your time and everything. But basically, you want to take some time to reflect and ask yourself, what is your purpose for starting this business? And for me specifically, I wanted to start my own business so that I can kind of have more control over my life. I kind of came to the realization at one point that, hey, if my boss wants to fire me tomorrow, Colorado's an at-will state. She can fire me just because she didn't like the pants that I wore that day. And I've seen it happen with, my friends and people around me. So more control over my life, my time, my income. And I worked for another lawn care company before I started Green Team Denver. And I didn't like how he interacted with his customers. I didn't like how he treated them. I didn't necessarily like the equipment and everything. And so starting my own business kind of gave me that autonomy of I got to choose, what equipment I used, which I decided to go with the electric route, how I wanted to mow, what services I wanted to offer, and how I got to treat my customers. And that last thing was really big about treating my customers a certain way. And then I'll just elaborate here that knowing your why will really help you determine along your journey where you go with your business. Because throughout different landmarks of your business, where you hit that first 100,000, maybe when you hit 200, 300 customers, you're going to reflect back and say, okay, do I want to continue to grow this? Do I want to grow this a $10 million business? Do I want to, scale back and just go back to being a solo operator and not mess with employees? Or do I want to continue to grow and sell in 3 to 5 years? So I found that that's something that's really important. And I think you guys could probably back me up on that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, coming out of school, I was a finance major and went into accounting, and it was in 2008. and the middle of the housing crisis. My first job, I'm a few months in, and they cut, I think it was something like 25% of the company I was at. And I was like, I did the right thing. I went to school, got a degree, come out. I think I've got a safe, secure job. I made it through that. And then I ended up transferring to another company. And within a month, the exact same thing happened. They had a merger and they cut a quarter of the company. And being in business for yourself could still happen. You might have to cut more than a quarter of the company, depending on how things are going, how the economy is going. But you're in control of it. You are ultimately responsible for the results. And I think that's very freeing.
And the point I was just going to add, and not as insightful, but Sean, I definitely agree with you, was Jake, as I was putting together some of my top tips, the very first one for those watching on channel 0 on your TVs, what is your why, was my number one on there. So I agree with you. That sticks with me. And it's definitely the first thing. I think I might have said it on the first podcast, right? We got back into this business because at the end of the day, 11 o'clock at night, thinking about all the crap you have to figure out the next day, it's like having the energy to say, right, F yeah, let's go figure it out, instead of, oh, I have to go into the office again, or, oh, I have to go deal with these problems or put out these fires. 100% agree with you that knowing what that why is and it being something that invigorates you and gets you charged up is super important.
And I think I spoke with, I believe, Jake. He was saying he's doing so many lawns or something like that in the first episode. And I was telling him, if your best friend was in that same city as you were and he had 10 more lawns, you would then really push yourself. You don't really know your capacity until you have competition or someone there that can really push you, or a big enough reason why you want to do that. My first thing is our company was really, really good. I moved out last year and I needed to make more income. That gave me a really good reason why I needed to push it. We got like, Dan, you remember maybe 20 something customers in 1 week? I went door knocking. I just pushed it all day, every day. And, that was my record for the company of how many people I brought in that 1 week. Because in order for me to get this much money, I need to bring this much revenue in. My why was bigger. I needed to provide, you know what I mean?
Indeed.
So once you put yourself inside that situation of, even if your why, whatever it is, you can always push yourself a little bit more. And if you go down to the deep core of your roots, you'll be able to see that we're all good individuals here that are doing this for a reason bigger than just lawn care. It's a reason why we're here. We all probably did work 1 point 9 to 5 that we didn't like being told what to do or what color pants you're wearing. You could get fired. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Ronnie, I think that's a great point. Number 5, right? Challenge yourself. To sum that up, is like just push yourself, or give yourself a goal that's beyond what you're comfortable with. Like have stretch goals. I know a lot of if we were in our regular jobs or kind of day-to-day jobs, managers were always about that. And as you're focusing on all these different things within the business, as we're kind of building out our list and summing it all up, I think number 5 there should be, right, challenging yourself. Give yourself a stretch goal to reach toward.
Yeah.
That way it's not just, I want to get these many lawns. It's like build your own competition if you don't have it.
Yeah, that's 100, because what you'll end up doing is, I only need 10, so I want 10. And then you get to the 10, you quit. That's it. You hit that goal. So it's like something like Grant Cardone says, right? He's like, you want to just shoot for their 10x. So maybe you want to shoot for 100. Obviously, in your mind, you're not going to get 100, right? But if you get 80, that was more than that 10 that you had in the beginning. Shooting for higher, you're going to be pushing yourself a little harder to get to that level. And then that helps you out in a lot of things, not just in business, but in life in general. It just gives you a lot of...
That's a great book, by the way.
Yeah, it's a good book. I mean, if you haven't read 10X, he's a little wild, but...
Not to belabor this point, and Jarmar, you can maybe speak to this, but I think somewhere where we potentially, I know personally, I could be missing a little bit, but like with my employees, like asking them like, hey, why this job? Like, why are you here? Because I think a lot of times that's a frustration for us. It's like, why don't they care as much, or why aren't they pushing as hard as we are? That's because we know our why and everything. And to them, this might just be a job. So is that something you ever talk about, Jarmar?
Oh, man, that's all I talk about. I mean, because the only thing that matters to other people is them, right? Another really good book to read, if you've not done it, is How to Win Friends and Influence People. In that book, it talks about, it's a classic, right? Because one of the main tenets is you get genuinely interested in other people. And then y'all know how it is. Once you get a certain age, don't nobody buy you a birthday cake no more, right? Like you ain't, you don't get the balloons and all that stuff. People are so busy in their own lives. So the minute that somebody else asks them about their own lives, they're like, oh, well, Shoot, yeah, I'm gonna tell you.
Right.
I just made me a friend. This guy really cares, right? So in my business, my guys don't make a lot of money. Like our base pay is, in my opinion, is not enough, right? But they know if they're making base pay, they ain't gonna be working for Peaceful Lawn and Garden for too long anyway, because we do pay for performance. But they're in it for more than that. I find out what it is that they want, and so me particularly, I have young guys. And there's a lot of life skills that they just don't have. Right. And so I provide an environment for them to learn those life skills, how to communicate with people, how to implement, how to read a profit and loss statement, right? What's a balance sheet? What is marketing? How do we market to people? How do we speak to people? Like what it is that we're really doing. What's your why? Right. Little things like that. We don't have like health benefits and stuff, but one of the benefits that I have for my guys is I give them an access to an Audible account so they can listen to audiobooks, right, on leadership and management and dating and self-development and whatever it is, right? I just throw the books in there and they got access to it. I buy them a subscription to personal finance deal, right? And so I'm always trying to figure out what it is they want, right? Where is it you want to go? What is that you want to do next? And then how can I be a place where you come and learn and grow in? And I want to see them get pushed out. I want to see them grow and develop into great people, because they either leave and go do great things, and I may have a lifelong, friends or lifelong acquaintances, or they stay in our business and develop and build what we're building to the moon, right? And you can't build anything great without great people. And so, I'm always thinking about their why and how can Peaceful's mission also help their own mission. And so, that's one of the things I absolutely focus on. And actually, I'm going to pass it to you too, Stephen. Me and Stephen talked a lot about this when we were in Louisville, right? Just about our goals, where we see our business, what he's trying to do. I've been truly inspired by this cat, like from the beginning, since I found him on Instagram. I was like, yo, who is this dude, right? He was like, the Godfather was Michael at Quiet Lawn. And then I'm looking at this cat up in Dallas. At first, I had that temptation to think, oh, this is competition. Then I have to check myself, right? That's not how bosses really move, right? We look to make connections, and there is no competition out here. Can't cut all this grass by ourselves, right? Especially not with these batteries. Ain't enough batteries just yet. But Steven, hit us up, man. I think we're on what? Tip number 6, 7, 6? Hit us up.
6.
Yeah, man. All good things, guys. And, I have a few things kind of came to mind immediately when I was thinking about if I had to share something with somebody that was beyond what it is we're doing with battery powered and, the challenges that we face, I would say, look, you don't lose if you get knocked down. Okay. You lose when you don't get back up. And that applies to everything that we do day in and day out. And there's been so many times, man, it's the whole thing of sometimes you don't want to get up in the morning, man. Sometimes you just like, oh my God, I got to go do this. And the moment that you don't get up and you don't move and you don't put one foot in front of the other, that's when you lose. And those people that just get knocked down and they stay down, those are the losers in what we do. And that's kind of the motivating thing that gets me out of bed in the morning. Every morning, I'm like, man, this sucks. It's cold outside. I hate the cold. I got to go out. I got to do this. We got a whole bunch of stuff that needs to be done. Yeah, and I tell myself, every morning, and you guys know this, man. I'm like, I look in the mirror every single morning and I go be your best self. Go be the best that you can do every day. We've all heard it. If you love what you do, you never work a day in your life kind of thing. Look, we all love what we do. There's a reason why we're doing what we're doing, but we all get knocked down in so many different ways. If it's the struggles with the battery powered equipment we're working with, and we got a bunch of batteries that died on a cold day and we just want to throw in the towel and go, I'm done. I can't do it anymore. Or if it's a client that, fires you because they're not happy about anything, the most minuscule thing. There's so many reasons that we have to quit, right? There's so many reasons every single day that we are faced with that say, hey, what are you going to do? You got a choice to make. Are you going to keep going? Or are you going to quit? And I just say, don't quit. You know, that's my tip is get up, just go, just do it. And it's going to suck. Yeah. Yeah. It's going to suck. There's going to be some highs. There's going to be some lows. There's going to be some real bad lows. But when you can just get up on that daily grind and just keep going day in and day out, then you start seeing the rewards at the end of it. You know, we started this company 3-4 years ago with me in a truck, in a Suburban, and one battery powered lawnmower and no clients and sitting around and waiting on the phone to ring. And, you know, we're getting up close to 300 clients now in 3 crews. And I'm going to tell y'all right now, none of this has been easy. There have been hundreds of times when I've wanted to say, I can't do it. I quit. But there's something in me. And there's something that, you know, you've got to find that self. And Jake, you said it. Your why. Yes, your why. Absolutely. Why am I here doing what I'm doing? You know, yes, there is the how, but the how it's worthless. If you got no why behind what it is you're doing, there's no drive. There's no determination to go out and just be a badass. I mean, dealing with the issues that we deal with on the day in and day out. I mean, yeah, we've got personnel issues, labor, turnover, equipment failures, battery failures, you know, The reality of it is none of that is a big deal. And when you have seen some big deals in your life and you've faced some big issues and big problems, the problems that you face now, you learn they're not big problems in the grand scheme of things.
It can be overwhelming when you're in the center of it, but you step back for a second, you take a look and you look at how it compares to everything else going on around you. And you realize it's manageable. Just got to break it into chunks and find a way to tackle it.
You're absolutely right, Sean. 100%, man. And that is the reason why you just have to just get up and just move and put one foot in front of the other. And as much as it sucks, but once you get out and you get rolling, it's a beautiful place out there, man. What we're doing is awesome.
Yeah, and I'm going to piggyback off of you, Stephen and Ronnie, with my tip. I think that the most important thing for me personally was to find my tribe. And what do I mean by that? I mean, look at the group of folks that I was able to connect with, you know, going on social media, asking questions, trying to connect with folks and really learn the business, as much of the business as I can. I mean, there are a lot of folks that have done this well before, you know, I have. So being able to learn from them and, you know, not making the same mistakes that they've made, I think it's great. And nowadays with YouTube and these types of platforms and podcasts, I think, you know, anyone starting up has a way bigger advantage than we did just even a few years ago. So I think being able to find your tribe is one of my first tips. And I would say that my next tip, I know we shared a lot of good stuff, but I would say card on file. Number one thing.
Absolutely.
And let me tell you, the only thing that drives the train is revenue.
I just want to jump on Sandy real fast. The last company that I worked for, the owner of the company, when he knew I was going out on my own, he was incredibly helpful and just kind of coaching me up and giving me pointers and kind of pointing me in the right direction. And, you know, one of the things that he really drove home was that profit is not the same as cash flow. And so having that card on file, man, that you can run a much tighter, cleaner business, being able to keep that cash flow coming in, keep turning it around fast. So you're not waiting 60, 80, 90 days for payments on things. Keep it going.
All my clients from the beginning had a card on file and they were prepaid on the first of the month, which means that I got paid before I even showed up. And Ronnie and I were talking about this earlier. It's like clients do this every day. When they go to McDonald's and they go through the drive-thru, they place an order. What's the first thing they do? Window one, right? They have to pay for that meal before they even get it. Okay, so why can't we do that? You know, this is a tough business as it is. It's hard to retain, you know, and keep employees. So being able to have the flexibility and having that cash flow before they even set foot on a property, I think is super helpful just overall.
If they're not comfortable with the card on file, you just let them know, say, hey, look, I understand, you know, we're building a business with clients based on trust. And if we haven't done enough to earn your trust today in this meeting or this estimate, then I understand. Then maybe there's somebody else out there for you. But if there's another way we can earn your trust, we'll be glad to do that. But if not, we're okay with that. I'm free to part ways, and you can call us later or you can contact us anytime if you need anything. We'll be here for you. What tip are we on?
Number 8.
I think we're on number 8, and Daniel's the only one that hasn't spoken yet, so we'll give him the floor.
We got Daniel and Sean. We got 2, and then we'll get 10 to bring us home. Dan, give us number 8.
We have a lot of people that look at what other people are doing, right? Either if it's for solar systems and you're trying to compete with someone that has like a 10 kilowatt system, but you're only mowing, 20 yards. Do you really need a 10 kilowatt system? I think William and I talked about this a while back, saying like, do you really need something so big? If you're going to spend like $5,000 on a system, do you really need that?
Daniel, that was a good point. Own the system. And you're right. We talked about it in terms of over architecting, right? I definitely got the big eyes of all the different options that were out there and not getting stuck to go spend a bunch of money that wasn't worthwhile. I 100% agree with you.
That was the tip for me, right? Just build your system. Ask questions, build your system. I was talking to Jake yesterday night, and we were talking about if we wouldn't have conversations like we did at the Expo Live or have conversations like meeting up with him, we wouldn't learn something that he's doing or he wouldn't learn something that I'm doing. Being able to have those, getting out there and just to learn from what they're doing. And they might be doing something different like a Craigslist, ad or running some advertisements on TVs or whatever has it, right? It didn't work. It did work. So networking with those people and really getting the hang of listening. And then I'll kick it off over to Sean.
Number 27.
Tip number 32, ignore the haters. I think anytime you're trying to do something a little bit outside the box, trying to build something great, there are going to be people they're going to put you down. They could be strangers on the internet. They could be your family. It's going to come from all over. Misery loves company. Everybody can see me on video right now. There's a picture right over my head. It's a drawing of Albert Einstein with a little quote up there. And it says, great spirits have always encountered violent opposition from mediocre minds. I bought that right after I started the company. Right after I started the company, I started telling, some people in my family about it and going over the idea. And somebody told me that's the dumbest idea I've ever heard. That's, just shooting me down left and right. And just dragging it through the mud. And I saw that picture and I picked that up. You just got to get out there, do your thing, stay focused on what you're trying to do, what you're trying to accomplish. Don't worry about what other people are saying around you. Pay attention to what your competitors are doing. Pay attention to what's happening around you, but don't worry about it. Just focus on you, focus on your business.
Man, I'm ready to go knock on some doors right now.
That was good number 9. Haters are gonna hate.
Yeah.
You're gonna hate.
I told you, Dan, he was not going to disappoint.
Even holding that one in all night long.
Sandy took my first one, so I had.
So we're headed to number 10. I actually want to hear another one from Mr. EcoMow as number 10 as our last one. So
I got another one. Okay. Yeah. Sean, man, I really listened to what you said there, man. It reverberated with me big time. And, the coolest thing about what we're all doing is we knew coming into this that we were going to be faced with great opposition. So let's just let that sink in for a minute. There's 8 people in our podcast tonight, and every one of us knew going into this that we were going to be facing problems that other companies like ours didn't have to face. But yet we did it anyway. And that's the coolest thing about what we're all doing. It's not about battery power. I mean, yes, we're all about it. It's more than that. I always say, I think I have it on my LinkedIn page for myself. And it says my quote for myself is, do it because they say it can't be done. And I feel like that's kind of been my mantra. I'm not necessarily trying to prove to somebody else that something can't be done. I'm trying to prove to myself that I can do something that people say can't be done. And it's that mentality that each one of us, all 8 of us, and I'm looking at you guys, and I know we're on a podcast, and I know it's just audio, and I know this is sinking in with you guys, that every day we all come from a place of can. We can make this work. We will make this work. Find your motivation. Ronnie said it in our trailer that we did. I think it was like a 3-minute trailer for our podcast. And Ronnie said, I want to thank all the people that said this couldn't be done. Thank you so much for saying this, because that's where I found my motivation. And every single one of you guys has the exact same story, where we've all heard it from somebody else who's doing what we do. If it's in the gas powered space, we've always been faced with the naysayers of our industry that have said, you can't do that. It can't be done. It's not good enough. You're never going to be able to have batteries all day. You're not going to be able to charge this, that, and the other. And those are all the reasons that motivate me to get up in the morning and go out and prove to them, you know what? I'm going to show you, you son of a bitch, this can be done. Oh, you hear me, Jarmar? This is all about can.
Yes, sir.
All right. You say it can't be done. It can be done. Dan, same thing with you, man. Talking about building your own systems.
Yep.
Right? Most of the world just doesn't even want to look at. They want to go out, buy the EcoFlow system, charge it up overnight, da 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 da. They don't care enough about what it is they're doing. They don't want to push the boundaries of the industry. And each and every one of us are pushing those boundaries, and it's just freaking exciting, man. To spend time with you guys when we were there last week or week before last, and to be amongst people who are going through the same challenges, and they get up every single morning and they say, I can, and I'm going to go out and I'm going to do this stuff.
I totally agree, man.
Those that challenge everything day in and day out, they challenge what can't be done. Those are the greats.
Well, you're speaking straight to me, Stephen, because whenever I was at that networking event we went to in Louisville, a lot of influencers online, I keep saying this, but I kind of live by this. You get lost in the sauce. You know what I mean? You think that they are like super big people that are going to blow your mind as soon as you speak to them. But as I was at the event, I spoke with more people there. I wanted to spend time with you guys when I was there, but I wanted to network. I wanted to know what was going on in my industry. So I was hopping from conversation to conversation, and I was talking to influencer to influencer. And as I was going, I was realizing they're just normal people with normal problems. And the only difference between me and them is that whenever it got difficult, they tucked their head and kept on moving forward. And that's why they're at what they are right now. Whether if it was someone who has a multi-million-dollar company just starting a channel, or someone who's trying to start one, just whatever it is, they're tucking their head right now when it's getting difficult and just charting forward and going step by step, because they know their bigger picture, or their why of why they're going to do what they're going to do. And that's what I got the biggest thing out of, when I went to Louisville, was realizing that, when I met Ballard, or I met some guy in the elevator, I forget his name. I don't know. You guys know what his name was?
I think it was Stanley Dirt Monkey.
Yeah, Stanley Dirt Monkey. Super cool guy.
It's pretty epic that you can just be walking around and meet these guys. These guys are larger than life, on Instagram, YouTube, and all of that.
Yeah, it was. We met the guy in the elevator,
and I didn't even know it was him. I was just talking to him regularly, and I was so confused because I was like, "Who's Stanley Dirt Monkey?"
Oh, you got to follow him on Instagram. He releases all the new tech, all the new gear, everything. To kind of bring it back though, we've gone over a ton of tips and everything. And Steven just was kind of saying how, we're on the cutting edge and everything. And it's exciting as hell. And to just speak to our listeners real quick. I mean, this is why we created this podcast, because we want to bring you on this ride with us. We're riding a tidal wave, and hop on your surfboard and come with us. Engage with us, ask us questions on our Instagram, Electric Lawn Talk. We're on LinkedIn, we're all over the place, Facebook, and, come on this ride with us, engage with us, learn from our mistakes, learn from our triumphs. And I promise you, it's going to be an exciting time.
Absolutely. This is an open discussion. We want to hear from everybody, be a part of the community, and help grow this thing.
Sean, I want to know what's going on with the machine, man. You mentioned something about the machine. Frank. Is Frank breaking down? What's happening there?
Oh, no.
Frank was feeling rough the other day. So Frank is our, kind of going back to what Dan was saying about, build your own systems. When we first got started, we we sold in a whole bunch of aeration jobs and then realized that at the time there were no electric core aerators out there. And so we basically built our own electric core aerator. We call it Frank. It's a little Frankenstein piece of equipment. And he was feeling a little rough this past week. I took him out for a couple more jobs here at the end of the season, and he's slowing down. I'm going to look at the price of that Bluebird and see if that makes sense for us. I might see that price and tell Frank he's got another season in him, but we'll see.
What about a Frank 2.0?
If we did it again, we've got some adjustments I think we would make on it. Essentially, it's a handyman electric wheelbarrow. It's got little controls on the handle that you can control this. It's got a throttle on it. You can control the speed of how fast it moves forward. And we welded traditional pull behind core aerator on the front of it. So we're basically pushing it through, and we just put cinder blocks in there to weight it down. We've made some adjustments to it to move all the electronics up on top of the aerator, so they're kind of out of the way. As we were like going off of curbs and stuff, I kept smashing the electronics, and my tech guy was getting pissed at me. He had to fix it every week. But I think if we did it again, we'd get some bigger wheels, put a longer axle on it, stuff like that. Just make your own system, figure out what works, and make adjustments and keep on going.
What if you threw casters on the back of it?
That would make a big improvement if we had some help in a little easier turning maneuverability and make a big difference. So.
Just to rewrap what we're talking about here today on episode 4 with the top 10 tips. We know we said a lot of them, but there's the main key ones. I wrote down the list here to share with you guys. Number 1 tip when I started off with was just get started. Don't get lost in the sauce. Don't get too analytical. Just start one day and start today. You know what I mean? Number 2, we have don't get overwhelmed. There's so much stuff out there, so much equipment, so much information that you can just learn from. Don't get overwhelmed. Just like I said, just get started, get things rolling. We have tip number 3 coming on. Focus on your key metrics. That's a big, vital part of your business. You really want to focus on those key metrics. Knowing your reason why would be at number 4. Reason why you wake up every day, why you push yourself, why you challenge yourself, why you do what you do. Number 5, challenging yourself. Someone said number 5 would be challenging yourself. Number 6, you only lose when you quit, which is probably my personal favorite. 7, find your group, find your tribe. 8, build your system from Daniel. He said, there's so many things out there. Build what works for you and stick to it. Number 9, haters are going to hate. Realize that. There's so many haters out there. So just keep on doing what you got to do. Keep moving forward. Number 10, do it because it said it can't be done by Mr. Stephen EcoMow. Says on his Instagram page somewhere. Well, that's a good quote. Number 10, that's a really, really strong one to finish off of. Do it because it said it can't be done. And we'll close you off today, guys. I just want to say thank you for everyone listening. Thank you for you guys for participating in this podcast. This is episode 4. Stay tuned for episode 5 coming out next week. This will be another good one. And with that, we'll be signing out. Peace.
Thanks for listening to Electric Lawn Talk. Don't miss the next episode. Be sure to subscribe, and while you're at it, help spread the word by leaving a rating and review.